Chapter 25. The Night Mother. 21st hour, 7th day, 5th month, 807 post-Heavenfall. 1 hour prior. Hurry! Kai rallied his 4 peers as he ran out the academy front door, with his armour clinkling and jangling with each stride. Despite being the heaviest equipped, the urgency of the situation carried his feet swifter than his companions. "MTAC, come on! Founders, you're so slow!" Oriana cried out as the Dracokin huffed from behind. Sprinting to a watchhouse right before going to bed was not exactly how I was planning to spend a school night, he muttered with much panting. They were joined by Barnov and Chin, who had been awake when the letters from Kellen were sent to all of their arcane mailboxes. As the 5 of them were just about to cross the gateway into the street, a stern voice barked at them from behind. "Stop!" Sentinel Dodak appeared from the building. "Where are you 5 going dressed in full gear?" The candidates looked at each other, unsure on how to respond. "We thought it'd be good training to do a night patrol," MTAC answered. "Like wardens. You're sentinels, not security. It's good practice for gathering intelligence and serving the community." "Cut the bullshit before I cut your tongue," Dodak snapped. "What are you all up to? And I want an honest answer worthy of the founders." They remained silent for a moment, until Kai opened up. "Kellen sent us a letter from the watchhouse in the Cadian district. She, Ariya, and Zarin believe they have a lead on the Night Mother." "What?" Dodak's eyes furrowed with incredulousness and confusion. "Why are they investigating the Night Mother? What are they doing?" "I do not know. It is the first we have ever heard of it." "Why are they at a watchhouse?" "They told us to meet there and wait for a signal." "What signal?" Kai gave a deep breath, knowing he had condemned his classmates to expulsion. "They are looking for the Night Mother themselves." Dodak stared off in the distance and made a face of deep astonishment. "Incredible," he said, in a low growl, shaking his head. "Let's move." "Move, Sentinel?" Barnov asked timidly. "Yes, move! We need to get to the watchhouse and intercept the candidates before they get themselves slaughtered." Present. With a foreboding groan from the hinges, the iron door swung open and suggested the finality of the hunt. There was no dramatic entry, nor were there any words to be spoken. All that echoed was the measured and steady pace of the dream hag's footsteps. Her boots thudded dully on the surface of the armoury and crossed into the smithy, where she meandered near the workbenches, sharpening stations, and the anvils. Instead of the nightmarish entity Ariya had caught glimpses of earlier, the dream hag had returned to the familiar form of the warden.
"Since you wasted much of my time tonight,"
she said, while peering over an empty quenching trough,
"I think I'm going to make sure you look like a mangled mess instead."
JC stopped in front of a row of storage cabinets at the end of the smithy and reached for the handle of one of them. Inside were shelves of smithing tools and various hardware. She slammed the door in dissatisfaction and pulled open the next.
"You have no idea who you've trifled with,"
the warden hissed as she forcefully repeated the motions.
"I know of 100 ways to break bones in a manner not even the best healers could fix you. How would you like to be immobile from the eyes down?"
The warden approached the last cabinet and leaned in to whisper. "Or would you prefer that I kill you here and call it self-defense?" She threw it open and only found aprons. JC glanced around and imagined possibilities as to where one would choose to hide. Her eyes fell onto something in the corner and chuckled dryly at the incredulous notion. Ariya held her breath as JC drifted slowly toward a large crate.
"What's this? A present for me?"
The warden spoke mockingly as the fingers on her right hand elongated into massive dark blades. She thrusted them through the box and smiled with sadistic satisfaction as blood spilled out from the holes. Finally victorious in her hunt, the hag brought the talons up to her lips and licked them with a lizard-like tongue. Her smile suddenly faded into disgust as she realized what she tasted was not blood, but something else entirely. She ripped the lid of the crate open and found its contents filled with jugs of dark oil instead of a person. Jacy swung her head around and scrutinized the smithy again. Her eyes went everywhere, retracing her steps from the entrance, the armory, the workbenches, and then the anvils. It was only when she looked at the forge that she saw a dark animal perched in the corner between the chimney and the wall above the hood. Except it wasn't an animal, but a person. Before the warden could react, an object impacted her eye and popped into a thick curtain of smoke. Ariya leapt from the ledge and stretched her hand out to the dangling chains affixed to tracks on the ceiling. She caught the tether and swung across the workshop in one fluid motion before letting go and landing near the door. The dream hag howled in fury and blasted the room with a shadowy eruption of arc, sending shrapnel and debris flying every direction. Ariya was pelted from behind by chunks of rubble, yet was lucky to avoid the brunt of the attack as she scurried out the threshold. As the smoke blew away, Jacy bounded forward with her talons scraping on stone. The elf slammed the heavy door shut and wedged the handle with a chair nearby, quickly backing away as the warden's shrieks changed to a string of violent profanities. Quaking vibrations of the hag battering and bending the entryway made Ariya resign to the truth that she alone could not hold the Night Mother for any longer. She escaped once more into the nave and dashed for the exit. As quickly as she felt overjoyed to finally put her hand on the double doors, her comfort was immediately swallowed by a deafening crash from the quartermasters. Without so much a glance, Ariya ran into the courtyard and left both the walls of the church and the remaining victim behind. She knew she would suffer from shame of condemning one of the Night Mother's prey to their death. Nevertheless, in this very moment, the only life she could think to spare was her own. Adrenaline pushed Ariya's exhausted self to carry on toward the streets. Yet before her feet could cross the gap between the fences, a great blaze of fire ignited in front of her and threw her body backwards. The elf spun around in panic and saw Jacy grinning from the dark of the church's entrance. Her grin, however, was unnaturally wide to the earlobes, while her eyes were orbs of ghostly white. In a blink, the warden's face returned to normal as she walked out into the summer night with a condescending smirk of triumph. There was nowhere to take cover, and the fence was too tall to climb over hastily to avoid spells. The gravity of the situation hit, and Ariya understood that the chase was over, and this was finally checkmate. She cursed her arrogance and curiosity for leading to this predicament, and wished she had only fired the flare before bothering to step into the church. Thoughts returned to her family, and the elf wondered if perhaps her mother was right to berate her for choosing to become a sentinel. She and her father had already been through decades of quests, perils and thrills, so that their daughter would be able to grow in quiet comfort. Was Ariya a fool for wanting to sate her own thirst for adventure?
Shh, no tears,
Jacy said, with a finger up to her lips.
I must reward you for providing me with an amusing challenge. Come inside, now.
Ariya remained planted, eyes burning with steady defiance. She realised 82 years of existence was more than many Sophonts could afford on Haven, and had tasted every joy and sorrow one lifetime had to offer. She looked up at the Church of Turan and wondered if her deeds would earn her a place among the Celestial Watch. At the very least, she had done enough to expose the Night Mother, and many others would be saved by her sacrifice. All Ariya Malanti could do now was to accept death with dignity.
No, Maybe a song will put that troubled mind to rest.
The warden began to hum a gentle melody, which soon transitioned to words.
Hush, little girl, your work is done. The stone is cold, there's nowhere to run. Friends afar, lonely watch you keep. My tired bird, it's time to sleep.
JC saw the woman had elven features and would be resistant to spells penetrating the mind. Regardless, she could sense her arc was weak, and it would be only a matter of time until her defences broke. Already, the girl's eyelids and shoulders were becoming heavier with fatigue.
Come back, my weary child. The night is yours to flee, but safety's here, behind the door, forevermore with me.
Ariya's posture drooped and her expression went blank. No longer was she the wild, cornered animal fighting for its preservation. The elf was now a docile marionette to which the warden could pull at her strings. JC beckoned her with a familial wave, and Ariya shambled sluggishly toward her.
That's it. Come back inside and I'll bring you the peace you deserve.
She called with a hand extended in invitation while Ariya came nearer. The hag licked her lips at all the ways she could dissect and disassemble her. It had been a while since she's killed a sophont so brazenly, and all this clandestine harvesting of crops was becoming a bore. Once in a while, a bit of cathartic bloodletting was necessary to maintain her sanity. As the elf stood close enough for her face to be examined, JC finally recognised her as one of the Sentinels who had investigated Coley's death those months ago. The warden flashed a malevolent grin as a plan formulated in her mind. She could kill the girl and make it seem as if she was the true Night Mother responsible for all the previous deaths. JC would claim she caught her murdering the clerics while on patrol, and then be honoured as the city's saviour. The elf reached out with her own hand, and they were, at last, joined together as one. All that remained was for the warden to drag her back into the church so she could bring her ruse into fruition. JC began to lead her back through the church door when she felt a startling tug of resistance. In a circular blur of motion, Ariya pulled her Jian from the scabbard and unleashed an upward cut. The blade was a beautifully crafted straight sword, made of a core of hardened blue crystal and edged with silver on one side and iron on the other. The guard was stout in shape, also made of silver, and designed to be ornate with intricate reliefs and filigree of a dragon entwined in swirling clouds. As Ariya channeled a surge of her own arc into the weapon, small cracks of electricity could be seen conducting through the crystal core to the iron side of the blade as it connected with JC's hand. The warden pulled back, but the surprise attack managed to bypass her Aegis and sever nearly all the digits of her hand. The fingers fell to the ground and turned into long, writhing talons that convulsed and curled in death like insects. Ariya jumped away, and JC bellowed with fury as she clutched her wound.
How?
She screamed. Ariya made a mocking gesture, as if she had trouble hearing, and pulled her hair back to reveal one of the earplugs she had picked up from the smithy. You fucking cunt. The mirage of JC's face contorted to that of a scorned demon.
Fuck all of this, and fuck you. I'm going to string you up with the rope of your own intestines and leave you up there for the entire city to see.
She raged, pointing to the top of the steeple. The warden's remaining hand grew again to impossible proportions, with her fingers each extending out to scissor-like claws. Her appendage glowed with malicious arc as the Night Mother lunged at Ariya with every intention of disemboweling the elf. A musical chord blared from a stringed instrument, and the dream hag reeled back from being peppered by a hail of splintering barbs. Ariya glanced in the direction of the sound to see Emtak and Oriana casting spells from the fence, while Kai and Sentinel Dodak pushed through the flames with their shields raised. As the spellcasters suppressed the Night Mother, Ariya used the opportunity to quickly fall back and regrouped with her allies at the centre of the courtyard. "Are you fine, Lady Ariya?" Kai inquired, while standing at the front between her and JC. "What?" Ariya pulled one of the earplugs out. "Are you fine, Lady Ariya?" he repeated loudly. "I am now," she exclaimed. Her heart was aflutter with euphoria that she couldn't help but smile and wipe away tears of glee. "Founders, saying you're lucky barely scratches it," Dodak growled as he moved up beside them. "It's a good thing we didn't wait to follow your trail when we got to the watch house. You've done enough. We can take it from here." "No, I want to help end this now," Ariya insisted, as she watched the dream hag slink back indoors. "Your choice, candidate. Oriana, Emtak, fall in." The Inferni and Dreokokin doused the impeding fire before moving up toward the team. As soon as Oriana came within reach, she gave the elf a chokingly tight embrace. "You're insane. You know that." Ariya could only shrug as a reply. "Are you hurt? Do you need any healing?" "I'm all right, just tired. I've been through a lot." "I know. Here, this will help." Oriana played on her guitar and vocalized a short but soothing tune that instantly relieved all the tension and stress from every fibre within Ariya's body. "That's much better." Ariya breathed out a sigh of relief. "All right," Dodak interrupted their exchange. "The Night Mother is inside, and we're to either take her out or keep her pinned until the rest of the Warden and Sentinel forces arrive. She'll likely be invisible, so are we still good on detecting her?" "Yes, sir," Emtak pointed to his temple. "My spell should be active for another 9 minutes, so I can spot her for you all. Oriana also has something ready as a backup as well." "Great. Stay together and don't trust everything you see. Dream hags are illusionists, and they'll use their spells to trick you before getting close and cutting you to pieces." "Ariya, what does it look like in there?" "It's a nave with no pews, but there are support columns along the side at every 15 feet, she answered. 2 doors on the left, 3 on the right, and 1 open stairwell on the opposite side behind the statue of Turan. I haven't been down the lower level, but the upper level has a cleric that should still be alive. Stack up on each side of the church entrance. Emtak will be with me while Oriana stays behind Kai. Ariya, you're in the rear. Once we push in, Kai and I will take the opposite corners of the hall, while Emtak and Oriana stay between them and the entrance to watch our backs. Ariya, you'll be in the centre and support whichever side the hag is on. Got it?" The candidates acknowledged the plan. "If it gets too much to handle, I'll give the call to fall back. Let's move quickly before she digs in." The party did as suggested, with Dodak and Emtak lined up on the left side of the entrance, while Kai and Oriana were on the right. Ariya stood back between them and waited for them to breach. After a silent countdown, Dodak gave the signal, and each half of the group alternated a member to cross into the church. It was then Ariya's turn to finally follow in. They all spread out evenly across the front wall and watched vigilantly for any signs of the hag. Dodak and Kai had their respective shields defensively raised, while Emtak pointed his staff like a spear, and Oriana kept her guitar's sound hole facing forward. A faint cackle echoed in the air, goading the party to come closer. "Emtak, do you see her?" Dodak inquired. The Dracokin shook his head. "No, she's not out in the open." "Perhaps our foe is inside another room," Kai suggested. "Or still here and behind one of the pill down!" the Sentinel cried a warning as a floating claw of phlegm sailed from one end of the chamber toward Oriana. The Inferni instinctually threw herself to the side and narrowly avoided the attack as it spattered onto the floor and made a sizzling sound. Oriana hissed as some of the backsplash left small holes in her clothes and singed her exposed arm. "There, all the way in the back on the right behind the last pillar," Emtak called with his finger pointing to the ceiling, where he could see her form hauntingly levitating. Despite the dream hag still invisible to Dodak and Kai, they wasted no time charging toward her position with shields up. MTAC covered their advance by drawing water from the pipes of the restroom nearby and hurling it forward like a pressurized cannon. The torrent curled around the pillar and pushed the hag out of cover, as well as left a clear outline for Oriana to act upon. The Inferni threw a fistful of glitter dust in the air and propelled it forward with a musical spell that ignited the dust and marked her silhouette with bright, sparkling motes. Jacy shrieked at the indignity and flew away from the water stream to the front of Turan's statue. She extended her hand, and another massive claw of acid shot out, crashing into Kai. Rather than detonating, the claw remained wrapped and melted around the candidate as it ate and dissolved his armour, while worming its way into the more vulnerable nooks and crannies. As Kai screamed in panic and pain, Entak hurried to pull the water current and douse the acid off his comrade. With two members of the team preoccupied, the hag used the opportunity to isolate the foe nearest to her. She dove full speed and collided into Dodak, whose shield buckled and cracked under the weight of the assault. Even with one hand uninjured, her size and ferocity wore down at the Sentinel's defences, causing his parries and his blocks to quickly grow more haggard. Dodak attempted something bold to break free of the hag's siege and waited for her next strike. As she lunged forward, the halfling bashed her talons away with his shield and twisted his body to deliver a wide swing with his warpick. The attack broke through the Night Mother's Aegis and punctured the bones of her ribcage. Jacy made no sound from the impact, apart from a pathetic croak as she staggered. Sensing his chance to end this, the Sentinel brought his weapon high to embed it into her skull. He did not expect the hag to suddenly spring forward and pin him down mid-swing. Dodak toppled to the ground, and the Night Mother immediately sank her jagged teeth into his left shoulder. Her bite penetrated the halfling's armour and even crushed the clavicle supporting his shield arm. Dodak thrashed his warpick to get her off, but it was as effective as a flailing infant. Kai, now cleansed of the acidic claw, pointed his shield at the Night Mother and emitted a blinding light that both illuminated her ghostly form and left her disoriented. MTAC followed up with a barrage of homing spell attacks that caused her to recoil and release Dodak. Emerging from the hag's own shadow, Ariya finally pounced. With the Jan in hand, she charged forward and felt time slow around her as Oriana plucked a series of quick staccato notes to help accelerate her speed. The elf closed the distance before the Night Mother could turn and delivered a mortal thrust into her back. As the warden reeled in agony, her concealment shifted in and out, and Ariya saw a necklace within reach. She yanked the accessory from her throat, and the Night Mother's illusion dropped entirely, revealing her grotesque form for all to bear. No longer was she Jacy Ducal, but a spindly, gaunt crone of impossible proportions. Her arms and legs were unnaturally extended and slender as broomsticks, and attached to an equally slim torso that should not have been able to support its appendages. Instead of the light armour of an Ovyliax warden, she now wore loose-fitting robes that seemed more like rags and hardly hid her skeletal frame. Most disturbing, however, was the face, which was now a sharp and angular wedge, prominently featuring a mouth that stretched across like a gash under black hair, floating upwards behind two dark, curving horns. "Surrender and atone," Kai pleaded to the dream hag as black blood pooled beneath her. She let out an awful screech of contempt and incanted another killing spell. Kai's blade flashed in a silver line before she could finish, and the hag's head rolled off her shoulders. The knave went silent as the candidates waited with tense anticipation of the dream hag's one last trick. Yet moments passed after the headless body twitched in death spasms before they set out a sigh of relief, knowing there was no final form of retribution. At last, the hunt was over, and the Night Mother Coven of Ovyliax was no more. The candidates rushed over to Dodak, and Oriana immediately played a song laced with arc, while Emtak retrieved healing potions from his backpack. "Anyone need one?" the Dracokin asked the group. "You look like you took a big hit, Kai." "I am fine, thank you," Kai declined. "Sentinel Dodak's Aegis broke and is hurt pretty badly, but he should live," Oriana said, as she took one of Emtak's potions to administer to the injured halfling. "That's a relief," Ariya replied as her eyes returned to the gruesome corpse of the dream hag. In the bloody pool obscured by her robes, something was softly illuminating in a reddish glow. The elf walked over carefully, still wary of any unexpected surprises the Night Mother might unleash, even in death. With the sword in her scabbard, Ariya gingerly pulled back the cloth and prodded at the glowing object until it rolled toward her. She picked up a small vial, wiped off the blood, and stared at the fat worm the Night Mother extracted from the victim upstairs. "What did you find?" Emtak inquired. "I have no idea," Ariya answered, as she handed the vial to the Dracokin. "Some kind of parasite I saw the hag pull from the victim upstairs. Have you seen anything like this before?" Emtak rotated the glass and studied the pulsing radiance. "No, this is a mystery to me, although I think I know why it's glowing, or rather, what's making it glow." "What?" The Dracokin lowered the vial, but it still illuminated his snout with a reddish glare. "It's arc. Concentrated arc,"